This October, the wrong station celebrates a decade of dread. You can read the show notes to discover terrible new ways to celebrate with us. Today's episode, Dullahan, is written by Alexander Saxton and performed by Anthony Botelho. He knew there was justice in the world, because he had seen the Dullahan once when he was a boy, riding black through the mist and mud of his childhood town, with its own head hung low beside the stirrup. That head was rotted white as cheese, and the eyes were white as cracked porcelain, turned all the way back up in the skull between black lids, and the tongue was black, hanging all the way down past the chin, and bouncing garishly back and forth as the black horse trotted slowly through the fog. Throughout the village, hollow eyes had viewed it from behind the grimy glass of small windows, from around the door frames of dry stone cottages. He alone followed where it led. He was known to have a fascination with such things. There was a big house up on the hill above the village, and the man living there was said to have been ill for a long time. He was the boy's father. This was another reason for the boy to follow. At the old lime tree at the top of the hill, the Dullahan stopped and half-turned in the saddle. It was well dressed in black and white, with the black cloak folded neatly across its uncrowned shoulders. He felt its headless gaze upon him through the thickening rain. He looked away and heard the low, sepulchral laughter as if it was right beside him. Then the Dullahan dismounted, and its spurs rang softly as it climbed to the front door and pounded calmly upon the timbers with one fist. When the rich man's servant appeared at the door, he cried out in dismay at the sight of his guest and tried to slam the door against him. The Dullahan only laughed again and threw him aside. For a while, the boy watched that house sit silent in the rain. Then the Dullahan returned through the front door, holding the rich man's head in one hand by the white, crinkly hair. The expression on that face was both surprised and dismayed, and when the Dullahan had climbed back up into the saddle, he took some time to admire the expression and laughed for a third time. Then he turned the head around and settled it down on his own shoulders, hammering it firmly down to the hole of his neck with one flat palm. That seemed to do the trick, because after a moment the Dullahan cracked his new neck and stretched by pointing his new chin from shoulder to shoulder. Nothing fell off, and so he reached down and pulled a knife from his boot and sawed the old head loose from his stirrup. Raising that damp relic by its cord, he swung it 2 or 3 times overhead, and then hurled it through the open door of the house. By now, the new head on his shoulders had grown young again, the white hair turning red as the rain turned it dark and lank. He looked now at the boy again, this time with blue eyes, and smiled. It was the first time the boy had ever seen his father look at him. "What'll you do now?" the boy asked. He didn't know what else to say. "Me? I'll go begin a new life," said the person who was no longer a Dullahan. "And so should you." As soon as he was old enough, the boy went to Canada. and made his living in the lumber camps of the rainy coast, felling old growth on native land, first with two-man saws and later with the heavy new gas-powered chainsaws. His hands became heavy. It was dangerous work, and before he was 30, it had taken a painful toll on his body. He never woke in the mornings without pain in his back and neck from a fall he'd taken at the age of 22. And so he married a fisherman's daughter and left the lumber trade and made a living down the coast in cold, rainy waters, which reminded him of home. There were still fish in those days. Together they raised 2 sons. When his boys were still young, the rich man who owned the lumber company changed his pulp mill over from heavy sandstone rollers to white liquor emulsion, and the evil smell of it hung over the bay, and the effluent of black liquor from the factory killed the waters that they drank and fished. When the rich man's representative came to speak with them, it was only with an offer to buy their land for a fraction of what it had been worth. "First he takes my body from me, and then the sea and sky," the man said to his wife. "We'll have to take the offer." She looked out the window to the gray waters and green shores, which were all she'd ever known. "Don't worry," he told her. "There's justice in this world. I've seen it." When he went to meet the mill owner at his big house on the top of a hill, he found the man well dressed in black and white. He had blue eyes, and his reddish-gray hair was turning white. "I don't know what to tell you," the rich man told him with a smile. "I can't shut down my mill, and I won't be blackmailed into paying you more money than your property's worth. This is business, my friend. This is how it works." "I understand that," the man told him. "Then why bother coming here? It's a waste of both our time." The man shook his head. It felt heavy on his neck. "I just wanted to look you in the eyes before I sold," he said. "Did you? Well, what do you see?" The man told him. "You look a lot like my father." That evening, he drove out to the lumber mill and broke one of the locks and stole one of the 8-inch chainsaws that the men called rippers. Then he drove out to a bay overlooking the cold sea. He imagined he could see all the way across it to the gray bay where he was born. "There is justice in this world," he told himself. "I've seen it." Then he rested the ripper on his shoulder so that he could feel its hard teeth against the vertebrae of his neck. Then he smiled and pulled the cord. The Wrong Station is made possible with the generous support of our listeners on Patreon. Join us today at patreon.com/The Wrong Station for bonus episodes, behind-the-scenes content, ad-free listening, and additional goodies celebrating our decade of dread. The Wrong Station is co-produced by Alexander Saxton, Anthony Botelho, and Jacob Duarte Spiel, with music composed and performed by Alon Citrin, and arranged for the viola and performed by Viola Schmidt. You can follow us on social media at The Wrong Station, or email us at thewrongstation@gmail.com. And until next time, thank you for listening.